Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful weekend so far. Today, I wanted to make a video for you about processed foods and specifically highly processed foods. Um, I realize that, we tend to reach for the bags, the boxes, the jars, the cans of food because it's convenient and it's easy and we're tired and we don't have a lot of time, so we make what's quick. But the problem is that it's actually really, really bad for us. Highly processed foods specifically. And so I'm going to go through in this video and I'm going to talk to you about why that is and how it actually will make your symptoms worse and prevent you from being able to heal. I definitely used processed foods, convenience foods a lot in my diet, and that was one of the first things that I eliminated, and it really made a huge difference in how I feel. And I think that it will do the same for you as well. I think you'll find it makes a huge difference when you're focusing on whole nutritious foods rather than stuff that comes from a bag. So when I talk about the dangers of processed foods, I'm specifically talking about highly processed foods. And the reason why is because they go through so much processing that you can't even read the ingredients, right? You look at the ingredients and there's stuff you can't pronounce. And the more that's changed to the food, the less likely your body is going to recognize that food and be able to properly absorb it and digest it and process it. So there are definitely foods that are minimally processed that are good for you. The key is having a list of simple ingredients on it. That's really like the trick for that. So I have some examples of things that I consume that's processed. One of the things here is a jar of marinara sauce. So this is no sugar added. And it's organic. So when I look at the ingredients here, the ingredients are organic fresh tomatoes, organic garlic, organic extra virgin olive oil, sea salt, organic fresh parsley, organic fresh basil, organic oregano, and organic black pepper. So you can see these are all ingredients, whole food ingredients, and just seasonings and stuff like that. So this is something that I don't think is bad for you to eat, and especially if it's no sugar added. That's really important because when you're looking at processed foods, having no sugar added is an important component. Another thing is if you guys are eating bars, like protein bars and stuff like that as a meal replacement or a snack, a lot of the ingredients in those bars are crazy. There's just this huge long list and you can't always recognize what they are. They usually add a bunch of fake fibers like inulin, which is chicory root, or psyllium husks. And they do that because by adding the fiber, they can claim that it's like a health food. But also, if you're counting carbs, specifically net carbs, then you can subtract that fiber from the total carbohydrate intake, and that's supposed to be better for you. So maybe instead of having 20 carbs, it has 5 net carbs, and so you think it's okay. And really it's not, because your body really doesn't treat those fibers the same either, which is why I say it's a faux fiber. So one of the bars that I really like is this Epic peanut butter chocolate bar. And the reason is because first of all, it's gluten-free, soy-free, non-GMO, and it's very simple ingredients. So reading it, it's dates, peanuts, egg whites, unsweetened chocolate, peanut oil, and sea salt. So these are all simple ingredients. It is higher in carbohydrates because of the dates. It's high in natural sugar, fructose, but because it's natural, I'm okay with eating it. It doesn't really affect me. I feel pretty good after eating it, so I'm okay with it. Maybe not everybody can. It really just depends on you. And then the other thing I have here is I've talked about Primal Kitchen dressings and mayo and stuff like that. I'm not going to read you the list of ingredients on this. First of all, I can say they're all organic, and I know every single ingredient, exactly what it is on this. So I feel really good about eating it versus a lot of the other salad dressings that are out there, the mayonnaise and stuff like that. So next time you're in the grocery store, if you see Primal Kitchen, go ahead and take a look at the label and you can see what I mean. And again, it's soy and canola free, it's dairy free, it's gluten and grain free, and of course non-GMO. So those are just some examples. So I think it's important that you're focusing on the simplistic ingredients. So processing encompasses a lot. So the reason why I'm focusing on mainly highly processed foods is because the USDA defines processed foods as anything that changes its natural state. So I'm going to read you this list because it's very long, and so they include in processing as cleaning, washing, milling, cutting, chopping, heating, pasteurizing, blanching, cooking, canning, freezing, drying, dehydrating, mixing, packaging, and adding other ingredients such as preservatives, natural flavors, or nutrients. So you can see that we process our foods by cooking them, by freezing them, by packaging them and stuff like that. So that's why I want to focus on the highly processed foods, the foods with lots of ingredients that have gone through extreme processing in order to get the final product. So you want to aim to eat unprocessed or minimally processed. So the reason, first, is highly processed foods are low in nutrients, and that's because they're either destroyed during processing or removed during processing, and then what they do is they add them back in as fortified with vitamins and minerals and stuff. And the thing is your body doesn't quite absorb it in the same way as if it came from, from its natural state. So we end up getting less vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and trace nutrients, which is really bad when we're trying to heal our bodies, when we're trying to balance our hormones, because we need as much nutrient-dense food as we can get if we're going to count on food being medicine. So it's really, really important that we are getting our vitamins and minerals from whole foods versus highly processed fortified foods. Hi, Carrie. So happy you could join. I hope you're having a great Saturday. If anybody else jumps in and joins, say hello. If you have any questions, please make sure to post them in the comment box and I'll answer them on the video while I can. If you're catching this on the replay, then of course you can just put the comments in and I will go back and answer them. So another reason why highly processed foods you want to stay away from is because they're usually high in sugar and high in high fructose corn syrup, which high fructose corn syrup is really like one of the worst sweeteners that you can possibly consume, and they're in pretty much every processed food there is. And the reason is because we don't burn all of the sugars in the high fructose corn syrup when we're eating that from processed foods, and so we end up storing it as fat. And the FDA is claiming high fructose corn syrup is okay because it's made from corn, so it's supposed to be natural. But the problem is that our body doesn't recognize it in the same way as it does other sugars, glucose and fructose and galactose and stuff like that. So it's actually very, very efficient at storing the sugar, storing as fat. So your high fructose corn syrup, most likely you're not burning that, you're storing that as fat. It's very, very good at that. Your body's very good at that. And we don't really know why that is. It's something that Scientists, nutritionists, they're still trying to figure out why our body treats it so differently. And I'm hoping that we'll have an answer to that soon, because that would be really nice. I'm definitely curious. But definitely high fructose corn syrup is associated with metabolic syndrome as well as cardiovascular disease. So really, it's super important that you stay away from it. Highly processed foods are engineered for overconsumption. So it's made to trigger the reward system and our reward response in our brain, our dopamine. And so it makes it pleasurable for us and makes us almost addicted to it. So we just really, really want it. And another problem with that is that our body doesn't recognize it as food. So it doesn't trigger our fullness hormone leptin. So we end up overeating. So we're overeating on all that sugar and all of the other things that I'm going to go through. We overeat all of that. And so honestly, it makes us fat. It is usually high in refined carbs. So that spikes our glucose, it spikes our insulin, which we know causes inflammation. And again, we're storing that sugar as fat. It causes a roller coaster of energy levels. It causes moodiness. And the high sugar and the high insulin prevents our bodies from focusing on burning fat. So we actually gain weight, we have trouble losing weight, and then also it doesn't allow our bodies to focus on healing. And that's really what we want to do right now. We really want to focus on healing. We want to get our lives back, start feeling better, stuff like that. So processed foods is definitely not going to help us get there. It also takes less time to digest. So again, it's spiking your insulin, but it's also making you hungrier quicker. So you are using less energy to eat and digest that food, and then you're hungry an hour or two later. And depending on what you choose to eat again, you could be eating more processed foods and just kind of going in a vicious cycle, or maybe you choose to eat a salad or whole foods or really nutritious foods, and then you can feel good. And then maybe you won't be hungry later. But generally, that's not what happens. We tend to reach for more processed foods because it's what triggers the reward response in our brains. So it's also often stripped of soluble and fermentable fiber, which we really, really need for digestion. A lot of us who have adrenal fatigue are experiencing digestive issues, and so this is just perpetuating that. It's really, you need that fiber to feed your microbiome. That's your bacteria in your large intestine, your colon. So when you don't get enough fiber, then your bacteria isn't fed properly, and so you can be overrun by even healthy bacteria, but also by bad bacteria, and it can cause a lot of gut issues. So you definitely don't want food that's been stripped of its fiber. You need that fiber. So you'll just feel worse, and it'll just worsen any digestion symptoms that you are going through. Most of the time, these processed foods have trans fat in them, and we know that trans fat is really, really bad for you. Definitely increases your risk for metabolic syndrome, for cardiovascular disease, all kinds of bad things, but it also increases irritability and aggression. So irritability is one of the symptoms I experienced the most. Well, not the most. I was generally low energy and tired all the time. Those were the two the most. But second would be irritability. So processed food just makes you more irritable. So you're not doing yourself any favors. Also, highly processed food is high in sodium. And this isn't the sodium that is rich in trace minerals like quality sea salt or pink Himalayan salt. This is more like a table salt. And so it's really, really high in this sodium. And then you combine that with the sugar and the fat, and you're dealing with issues like high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, swelling, weight gain, all of that stuff from the combination of those three things. And so, you know, a lot of people blame high blood pressure on sodium. It definitely plays a role if you're consuming your sodium through processed foods like that and not through a high quality salt. And so that's why we really want to focus on whole foods as much as possible and eliminating or limiting foods that are highly processed. So it's really, really important for healing. And like I said, I still eat processed foods. I just am very, very picky about it. And I do occasionally have something that's highly processed, like a real cookie or something like that, because I'm human. And you know, you need your lifestyle to be sustainable. So you still need to be able to eat those things once in a while, but you just don't want it to be a regular thing. And I think it's especially important to avoid those foods while you're focusing on really like on your health and really trying to heal and alleviate your symptoms. If you can stay away from it for a while and just focus on the whole foods and stuff like that, you'll notice a huge difference. And then when you do eat something that's highly processed once in a while, it's not really going to affect you. It's not going to make you feel as terrible as you did before when you were eating it all the time. So if you guys have any questions about this, please let me know. If this is something that you would like help with, you know, really just honing in your nutrition so you can really get those healing properties and get all the vitamins and nutrients that you need, and you know, really just focus on healing, and you want some help with that, I would love to talk to you. I will put a link to my calendar in the comment section below, so you can click on it and schedule a free mini coaching session with me where we'll really talk about what you're struggling with, where you're getting stuck, and you know, a step-by-step roadmap to getting yourself feeling better and getting back to the life that you've been missing out on so you can enjoy life again. This is something I love helping people with, and I would love to help you with, so I hope to hear from you all. That is all I have for you. I don't see any questions. I hope that you all enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.